Coming up today on the Prosperity Nation podcast.
Imagine a world where all of your neighbors, you and everybody on your block actually was taking full responsibility for creating prosperity in their lives. Our whole community and our whole society would change if we could take that responsibility. Welcome to the Prosperity Nation podcast. I'm Angie.
And I'm Elise.
We're glad to have you with us. You know, last week we talked about, we said we were going to talk about false ideas about money this time. But before we get into that, we asked you for your comments and your thoughts. We wanted to hear from you. And so I wanted to share some. Thank you so much for your participating with us in this podcast. One of our listeners says, I watched your entire podcast. I enjoyed it! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Love those. Both of you are genuinely endearing. So you are easy to listen to. The mention of goals and achieving them to me is a huge button. Goals are important in everyone's life, and the emphasis on making them and giving help to achieve them is so fundamental to life. I'm very impressed with all you're doing. I can't wait for the tips and stories. I think your audience will feel the same. Well, thank you so much. Yeah. XO. We got an XO on that one too. So thank you so much. We hope that we, continue to share real stories and just talk really heart to heart about money and what's going on and how you can really feel less stressed and more empowered with your money. That's why we're here. Elise, did you get any comments?
I did. And, it's really funny because I got a comment from someone I didn't even know we sent it to.
Awesome.
Yeah, but they just said, hey, it's got legs. Keep doing it. So I was like, that's awesome. Hey,
that's great.
Yeah, any feedback's feedback, right?
That's right. Well, that's going to help us shape it or help us run.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Another, friend of mine, I've actually been helping with money coaching with him since he started his business over 15 years ago, and now getting ready to exit out of his business. And he was just sharing how important it is to know how to spend money, which is really interesting because that was part of the discussion. He said, great discussion, he said. So that was awesome to hear because at the end of the day, he says, hey, this is all stuff you taught me, Angie. I listened and it worked. So thank you so much. That was so great.
That's great.
I know.
I love it. I love that. I listened. So
I know. I know, exactly. And there's so much noise out there, right?
Yeah.
There's just so much false data, false thinking about money. And oh my gosh, the stories that we hear and the things that people come up with about what they think are good ideas to do with money, they're fun sometimes. They're serious sometimes, but a lot of times they're fun.
Yeah, well, that brings up a good point on your last, the last story you shared. How do you know who to listen to, who not to? In that case, he said he listened to what you said and things are going well. But like you said, there's so much false stuff out there. Like, how do you actually know?
That's a great question. I think there's a difference between like advice when you need technical, like attorney advice or tax advice or banker advice or something like that, where you actually really need to know the laws and rules of things. But then there's that whole practical advice or wisdom, maybe, that goes along with it that we don't really have, or we don't. Obviously, there's no money school anywhere for us to learn any of this stuff. So it really has to come down to being able to look at your own situation and be able to, I hate to say it, confront it. We use confront all the time, by the way, which we're going to talk more about later. But confront just means being able to look at what's happening and just look and handle it, right? Elise, how would you describe when we say confront money? What does that mean?
Oh, kind of like you said, just be willing to actually see what's happening. Like, I think so many people, especially with money, like they won't even open a bill. Like that is obviously, they're not even opening the mail to see what their bill is. Like that is the opposite of confront. That would be opening the mail, looking at the bill, looking at your bank account, seeing what you spent money on. Like that would be kind of what confronting money is to me. Yeah.
So I agree. And I think that coming back to your question about how do you know who to trust? Well, it ultimately has to come from you. And the reason we don't trust ourselves with money is because we don't really know how to confront money. So, going back to just these ideas and all of the noise that's out there, one of the things that, I experienced myself was the idea of I had to have a guru to follow or to tell me how to do it. And yes, we sometimes do need technical advice, like I was saying, from your CPA or something like that. But generally, it's this idea that somebody else knows how to do it better than you. And every situation is its own. So for example, oftentimes we hear about getting a mentor and we want to get advice from mentors or do what somebody else do, don't recreate the wheel. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
So,
just take it from someone else.
How many times I've gotten myself in a trap and going down the wrong path because I was trying to follow exactly what somebody else said to do. And so I remember this one time when I was going to a lot of seminars and stuff, and that's often time where they have the gurus up on the stage speaking and all of that stuff. But this one time, there was a woman that I really admired, and I thought, gosh, she's like a leader, and she must have a really big business, and I need to get in her mastermind group, right? And so I called up and I went through the process, and it was like $65,000, and I was like, I actually had a breakdown because I just was like, if I can't afford to hire the people that know how to do it, how am I ever going to be able to do it? It just made me get stuck in this idea of I can never afford to get the advice I need to actually start making money I need to make. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like this stuck cycle. And then what really upset me about that is the salesperson on that said, well, you could just mortgage your house. And then, yeah,
that's a great idea.
Right? Oh, that's when I really am just like, okay, something is wrong with this picture.
Yeah.
And I really had to start confronting the fact that, wait a minute, why do I need a guru to follow? Like, what's going on that I don't think that I have what it takes to actually get myself into the financial situation I want to be in? So anyway, that was just an interesting lesson I learned on that. Have you had something like that, or what's been your experience about false ideas around money?
Well, I know what the guru thing. I've worked with, not so much personally, but I've worked with a few other people who have kind of had the similar experience where they feel like they need a guru to help them grow their business or do, sales, marketing, etc. And they'll spend, $60,000 more, whatever, just to get these gurus. And at the end of the day, you know your situation best. So you're, paying someone else to tell you how to do things, but they don't know the ins and outs of your situation, your business, your life. And so they're kind of, I don't know, I don't want to hate on gurus. It's not like the point of this, but I feel like you generally fundamentally know what's best for yourself. So I think that you pull in all these other ideas that people kind of enforce on you, whether you want them or not, thinking that they're the ideas you should do, but you don't take into account your own situation. And everyone's situation is different. It's not like a one-size-fits-all thing. So I think that's why it's like important to kind of listen to yourself and really, kind of like you were saying, confront and analyze the situation before you kind of listen to these gurus and just kind of go with whatever advice they tell you, because it's not always right. And they don't always know best for you.
Yeah, I think you're right. When it comes down to it, even in my situation, in my story I was telling you about, it really was, I wasn't able to confront my situation. Yeah. You can't change your situation, your financial situation, if you can't look at it, right? You've got to be able to first look at it. And back then I wasn't really able to be honest with myself. Like I was undercharging fees, or I was taking payment plans that stretched out way too long and that were hurting me, and things like that I wasn't willing to confront. Or the fact that my business was actually not making money. And so I was trying to stretch things out, which actually leads me to another false idea about this idea that small businesses need to have investors to grow, or need to get funding to grow.
Yeah.
Right? It's so common, right?
Yeah. Or even, I was actually just thinking loans. Like how many people do you know took out these like EIDL loans, PPP loans, and, just to grow for whatever reason, like they need other funds.
Yeah, to me, it's like helping people know that, I don't know, there's this idea out there that you can't grow without investors. Now, if you're in a certain If you're in a certain kind of business, I know the software industry, you get the different rounds of angel funding and you do that. That's a different model. But for most small business owners and most service-based businesses, the reason that you feel like you need to have investors or you need to borrow money is because your business is not cash flowing. And you don't want to invest into a business that's not making money, basically. So the real solution is not to go get investors or not to go borrow money. It's to figure out how to make more money.
How would one do that, Angie?
What's that?
How would someone do that?
How do you make more money?
You make it sound so easy.
I know, right? It's
just
a secret.
Make more money. Come on. Like, duh.
It's a secret. No, I'm just kidding. There's only one way to make more money. Do you know what it is? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Ooh, how to make more money. I mean, I would just go and start hustling and tell everyone what I do.
So, and when you actually get somebody who wants to do what you do and pays you for it, what are you actually doing for the other person?
Providing a service, or you're exchanging.
Yeah, you're helping them, right?
Yeah.
So you're adding value to someone else's life. And that's how you increase your money in any place. Add more value to somebody else's life. So if it's your business, it's finding more ways to do what you do to help people, or finding more different kind of people to help do what you do. That's the first step, is realizing, does your product actually help somebody else? Working with small business owners, I tell you, there's so many times where there's so much passion in the product, but there's no need or desire for it. So, for example, I had this one client one time. She was so passionate about these custom, fuzzy, high-end onesie pajamas for adult women or something like that.
Like with feet? Like those kinds?
Yeah, with feet. Yeah, exactly. And it was like custom.
Like costumey? Or?
No, not costumey. She was totally dead serious. And,
that's great.
I think it would work. I think people might like it. But the reason that she loved it so much is because she loved it so much. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's so much of the things that we get in a trap in is on our businesses. We want to do what we're passionate about, and we forget that really where money comes from and where that exchange comes from is being able to give that thing that the other people are passionate about. So maybe in that example, it wasn't fuzzy, high-end, onesie pajamas, but maybe it was, those women might want something that's, more comfortable or casual to be around the house with. But my point is, it can't just be your passion. It has to be your passion combined with the thing that other people want and need. And if you keep giving other people more of what they want and need, then that's how you're going to make more money. And it could just be if you're an employee at a job, then help your boss more. Find more ways to be useful. Find more ways to add value to your company, and you will end up making more money.
So what would be the false idea here? Follow your passion?
No, I would hate to say that because I'm pretty passionate about things.
I'm joking.
No, I don't know. Well, what do you think? What would be a false idea in this?
Well, I think, at least with the jobs, the employee scenario, I think, that shows what employers are looking for. If you have a W-2 job, it's not necessarily tenure or length of employment or even what your position is. It's the value you provide to your employer.
Yeah.
And what you can offer them. So I think that getting people out of their I've been here for 30 years, and realizing what are you doing? What have you done in 30 years, or whatever? Yeah,
I think coming back to your question, that the real false idea is that it's your passion that's going to make money. It's not. It's your passion in ways that help other people that will. And it's finding that how else does it help other people that's going to help you make more money. So the false idea of that if you just do what you're passionate about, that you're going to make millions is wrong.
I think so too.
You could, as long as you're really helping other people too, or help millions,
As long as people want whatever it is you're passionate.
That's right. And wants and solves a problem. Hey, I know that we could talk about this all day, but there's a couple false ideas that I think are really important to get out there. All right. And the next one that I wanted to bring up was this idea of retirement and saving for retirement. You know, it is always been my philosophy that retirement should not be a work your butt off for some pie in the sky time, you know, whatever. When I'm a certain age, all of a sudden, I'm going to end work and I'm going to go live a life I love, right? That's that idea, to me, my opinion, is a false idea, because what do the stats show? That, you know, after you do that, you start getting, you know, people start getting sick and they start getting unhealthy and they can die early. I actually had one client that we helped them exit out of their business, and he worked in that business with his partner for 30, 35 years, something like that. And as soon as he sold to his partner, within 6 months, he had a tumor and ended up passing away. Wow. And it was just like so sad, like all that working hard. And then he finally was ready to exit to enjoy life. And he didn't have his thing anymore, and his health just collapsed down. And I've always lived this philosophy that I should retire and work at the same time. So to me, that's what financial freedom is, which was the other false idea. What is financial freedom? Nobody really knows. They say, do what I want whenever I want. Well, why do you have to have $1 million to be able to do that? You know, or why do you have to be a millionaire to be able to do what you love to do in life? And so that's why taking that idea of putting retirement next to work and being side by side allows a lifestyle freedom that actually equates to the financial freedom that people talk about.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, it's almost like you lose your drive, you know, when you don't have any purpose to get up in the morning anymore. When that goes away, it's like, why are you waking up now? You know, it's different. Like, my parents are retired and they go travel and they go on cruises and they have all these trips planned and they go on, 4-mile walks every morning, and they have a lot going on still. But then you also see the other side where people retire just to like do nothing or relax, and they don't do anything. And then, like you said, they just deteriorate a lot quicker.
It happens, yeah. I think, or you find people who retire and then they're just so busy doing all of the volunteer work and the activities that they're busier than before, which is great. Mm-hmm. I think it comes back to being able to follow that purpose, but also living a life that you love now and not waiting till some point in. That's my whole point about all of it, is that you don't have to wait until a certain time to live a life that you love, that it's your responsibility to bring it into the way you live life right now. That's what I call the prosperity lifestyle, where your prosperity, meaning being able to flourish both personally and financially. That's really important, because you have to take responsibility for flourishing as a person and financially. And so that means you're responsible for designing a life that you love right now and not waiting for some time in the future for it.
That's true.
I think that was my point.
Yeah, I don't know how many people I hear are like, oh, well, I'm going to do X when I have X in my bank, or when this happens. But yeah, that's true. Why are we so dependent on something to happen to do other things? It's like, no, just do it now. Who cares? Go for it.
Well, I think... Exactly. Do it. And you know what? Sometimes I've gotten myself in trouble by jumping off those cliffs and just doing it. And then next thing I know, I have no money. And it's like, you know what? I'm just willing to take those risks, because that's what makes it alive for me.
No risk, life. No reward. So, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. But I think, you know, the important thing about all of this and our whole message with the Prosperity Nation is to help you and me and each of us to have more cause over our own prosperity. And our society is set up in such a way that it really makes us dependent on the government or on our bosses or on these things. And we don't have our own sense of ability to create the prosperity in our lives. Now, imagine a world where all of your neighbors, you and everybody on your block and everybody on the block around the corner from there, actually was taking full responsibility for creating prosperity in their lives and making sure that they were flourishing as a person and flourishing financially. Our whole community and our whole society would change if we could take that responsibility. We don't know how. We don't know how to be cause over this, because our systems are just set up in such a way that make it so that we're victim to money and victim to financial situations. And that's what we want to say, hey, that can be changed. That is something that is changeable. But it starts with confront, which is what we're going to talk about on our next show.
Yeah. exactly.
So why don't we wrap it up with that? Thank you, everybody, for the journey coming along with us as we discover what this podcast is about, what you want to hear, what we want to talk about, tips and tricks, whatever it is. And I will just leave it with this. It's that, yes, there's false ideas out there, money, but we challenge you to find your own ideas. Like listen to your own wisdom, because the false ideas, when they come in, are what cause you stress. That's where you start to get upset or feel, victim, or feel like it's never going to happen for you, or whatever it is.
Or it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. If it doesn't make sense, it's because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's probably not right.
That's right. But if you listen in that quiet space and you look honestly with your own eyes, observe your own stuff, then you're going to have your own answers, and they'll be calmer, they'll be clearer, and they'll make sense. And that is the path to follow. That's where more and more awareness is going to come in. So we encourage everyone to take a look at money. Look at it, talk about it. There's no more time for being shameful about these things. Like we have to come together and say, hey, let's get empowered over this so that we can take charge of our own prosperity. That's the whole point. So let's talk about it more on our next episode. We'll talk about confronting money, what that is and what happens when you don't, etc. But in the meantime, we want to hear from you. So share your stories, comment, let us know what you like. We're available.
Awesome. Well, our email is stories@prosperitynation.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
We want to hear.
See you next time.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us today. Follow us on social media for the latest episodes, updates, and more. Like and subscribe to videos from us on YouTube, and find out more at prosperitynation.com. That's it for now. We'll see you next time on the Prosperity Nation podcast.